take the conversation forward at this point of time. I've been joined by Supreme Court lawyer Khusbhu Jain. Thank you for taking out your time, Khusbhu, speaking with us on Mirror Now. Well, you are seeing what is happening. What do you make of this kind of an arrest of a young female reporter? SC/ST Act has been invoked against her, and other charges of road rage have also been leveled. What do you make of this?
To start with, when you talk about road rage, as much as I could gather from the incidents reported in the newspaper, I'm not privy to the facts per se, except from the newspaper. I would say that from those facts which I can read, it's not the Bhavna who was driving the car, it was somebody else who was driving the car. So when it comes to road rash, detaining her doesn't make sense. And apart from that, it's a bailable offense, which is, which is section 272 of IPC. So road rash comes under that, and it's a bailable offense. So detaining her for so long doesn't make sense. The second aspect that comes in play is the SC/ST Act, and that's where where the entire things comes in play, because SC/ST Act was enacted looking at the atrocities which were happening against the oppressive section of Indian society, and to safeguard them and to provide them dignity, this was given. And it provides for a non-billable offenses. Any act which comes under this comes into a non-billable offense. Hence, this comes in play. But this act was also misused by politicians and others for personal benefits. That's where the Supreme Court intervened and said that one cannot just arrest without investigation being done into this. And even Madhya Pradesh government came in the aspect that this has been misused a lot, and hence one has to look into it. But nonetheless, when you talk about the women reporter, there is also an aspect of press, freedom of press, and the immunity which is being given to the press. And if you can't stop them officially, all you're doing is I'm not saying that this has been done because I'm not privy to the entire fact, but if this has been done for the intention to stop, then this is abuse of the power which is being done, and it cannot be. Press is the fourth pillar of our constitution, and it has to be fourth pillar of our democracy, and it has to be given the due respect which it asks for. And now if you talk about sections, I can deal with that, what exactly CRPC talks about for arresting or detaining a woman, and what are the safeguards being provided in the law. If you may permit me, I can go on that.
Wait, Khusbhu, let's talk about that particular point. Help us understand, is it possible that a female is arrested by a male police officer during daylight? Because we know that a female cannot be arrested or taken to the police station after the sun sets. But is it mandatory that there needs to be a female cop in order to arrest a female?
See, absolutely. See, one has to understand that there cannot be a second opinion in understanding that the method and the execution of the arrest of a woman intended to be arrested should be performed only in the manner which is prescribed in the statute, and any other method which is being performed is forbidden under the provisions of section 46 of CRPC. Now, if we talk about section 46(4) of CRPC, it was been introduced by the virtue of section 6 of Amendment Act of 2005, and that clearly talks about the basic procedure regarding the arrest of the women. And if I may talk about that except in some exceptional circumstances, no women should be arrested after sunset and before sunrise, where such exceptional circumstances exist. And a women police officer shall, by making a written report, obtain a prior permission of a judicial magistrate of the first class within whose local jurisdiction that offense has been committed. Now, one has to understand another aspect, that a police officer under his official capacity or a duty cannot frustrate the legislative intent guaranteed under the by the insertion of section 4 of subsection 4 of 46 of the code, which clearly says that a police officer, to effect arrest except in an unavoidable circumstances, cannot continue arrest of a woman without the presence of a women constable. Nonetheless, there are other provisions which are laid down that women, it cannot be in the whims and fancies of a women of the officer, and also the aspect that
Right.
also the aspect one has to understand that even if you make an arrest a medical test has to be done in the presence of a women constable. It cannot be done just by the male constable. So all these aspects have to be looked into. One is the arrest, that it is
Right.
in the presence of a women constable. Again, the second aspect that comes is the medical test, that if it is performed, that has to be done in the presence of a women constable. Third, that you cannot keep them where men
Right.
are sitting. It has to be provided in the place, where women cell specifically is there, if not in a separate room altogether. And a decency with regard to a strict decency with regard to our custody has to be maintained, which is paramount. Looking into the aspect, keeping in the mind the modesty of the women. So I think the entire aspect that comes in play. Another thing that comes
Right.
is 24 hours, within 24 hours of the arrest of a person, one cannot keep them in the custody if there is a reasonable circumstances. And for that, detained person has to be produced before the magistrate within the 24 hours of the arrest. Now, the third aspect that comes in place is that you have to there has to be a reasonable, one has to get into the SC/ST part, that just by, one has to understand there have been a lot of judgments by the Supreme Court when they clearly talk about that it was held that when you attract SC/ST Act, the intent is paramount. The intent to
Hmm.
humiliate someone because of their caste is a prerequisite. Something, this prerequisite part and the intent, one doesn't have to forget that there should be a prerequisite, is that there should be an intent to humiliate someone because of their caste in a public place. This is something which is
Right.
required, and this is something I think has to be looked into a
Right.
nutshell, so that this misuse doesn't happen when you talk about
Absolutely.
curtailing the press in the indirect manner.
Absolutely. As per the visuals that we are seeing on our screens, that there was no female cop present while the detention was taking place. At this point of time, we will of course take this conversation forward. But Khushbu, thank you for taking out your time and speaking with us on Mirror Now.